Hi guys, PJ here. Today we are working on a 2003 Ford Fiesta, affectionately known as the Triple Dash. It has three separate, or what look like three separate parts to the radio. Removing these is fiddly and quite annoying, to be honest with you, but not technically difficult. If you're going to replace the radio in this car, you're going to need a few bits and bobs to do it, namely a wiring loom adapter. Here we have one made by Auto Leads, part number PC2804. Available from Amazon, eBay, etc. places like that. We're putting a Kenwood KDC 210 radio into this. And you need aerial adapter, a little stubby one there. Part number PC527H, again by Auto Leads. And also a fascia adapter. Now this one, quite a big unit as you can see. FP0705H. If you're fitting a single DIN radio, like the Kenwood down there, then you could use the little pocket. If you're fitting a double DIN, one of the big radios, all you do is take the pocket out and just saw the little bar out in the middle, and then you get the big double DIN size to put that size radio in. So it'll suit either, yeah? Tools to do the job, you are going to be needing a small flat blade screwdriver, a plastic leverage tool such as a bojo tool like this one, again available from various places, eBay, Amazon, etc. Normally only £1 or so. Don't use anything metal for levering plastic surfaces, you will damage the vehicle. You're also going to need a Phillips, quite a long Phillips crosshead screwdriver there. And to be honest with you, a torch to be able to get to the heater control guide cables so you can see what you're doing. This particular fit's probably going to take you in the region of about an hour. And you're going to start at the very start, get your plastic leverage tool, pop it sort of here, and you can normally just pop this entire run out quite easily. There we go. So the whole thing's on a block look. Hiding behind it are two Phillips screws, one at the top, one at the bottom, and the connector to take this out. I'll just show you the connector. It's got a squeezy tab, so you push the pin down and pull, and then there you go, it's free. There are some more screws to remove. You've got, open your glove box, one here, one right down at the bottom there, one, if I can just get you the picture, right under here, and another one under here. You've also got to come across to the other side where your steering wheel is. There's a panel here, this panel, and basically you've got to just remove screws. Has it got screws in it? Yes, it has. Two screws here when you pull down this little flap. Take those out, and on this side here is a sort of push fit clip. Once you've done that and removed a low down screw, I can actually show you, is it bright enough down here? Let me get my torch for you. There you go. There's another screw there, just there, look, tucked up there. Take that out, follow it along, and this entire plastic panel will come off. I'll skip across now, remove all the screws, and show you how everything unclips on this. Okay, so we've removed all the screws. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Then in the middle, 7, 8, 9. And under the flap, 10 and 11. Now by this stage, you'll realise that your cowling's falling down. That's quite fine. Like I say, it's on a clip, so you should be able to come around here and pull it. There you go. It's on a little push fit clip. That comes off completely. Move that safely out of the way. Obviously you can need that at a later time to put it back on again. That uncovers another screw, which is, I'll just angle my torch so you can possibly see it. There. Just covering my own torch. There we go, just there, look. So that hidden screw there is the one you need to get to, and another one down in the corner down there to remove this main trim. So undo those two first, like so. So you've removed that one and that one. You're then going to come outside of the vehicle and remove this panel here. It's on little poppers, so you can only just sort of pull it off, and there's a plastic Phillips screw on the end here to take it out. Now a lot of the time these old plastic screws on the end don't come out, they sort of thread themselves. If that's the case, you can normally just put your hand behind the panel and pull, and it will actually pop the thing completely out. Just take a bit of K, don't crack the panel. Once you've done that, you took your connectors out, there you go, 1, 2, clips, put that to one side. And you expose your heater part that we need to remove. Now up and under here, under the dash, you've got to stand on your head to do this, guys. You're looking at this. This needs to come off, yeah? And it's held on with this lug. This is where you need your flat blade screwdriver. Now you've got to carefully put your screwdriver in and sort of pop it out. They are a bit of a pig, so be careful you don't break it. Like I say, they are fragile and they don't like coming out easily. There we go, that one's out. You can see that? Just get the camera on it. Pull. And there you go, it's come off the hoop, off the end bit here. It's a heater guide more than anything. So what it does, it actually turns a lever on the heater. This lever here, look, which is now loose, so that's just popped off and is free. Okay? Once you've done that bit, which is probably the hardest bit to be honest with you, come back inside the cabin. Get your plastic pry tool and pop along the top here. There we go, it's gone. Put your pry tool down. Bit of a wiggle, there we go. Open your glove box. And as you can see, the whole thing comes away. Now just watch you don't clobber this stuff too hard. You don't want to snap your stalks, yeah? You can go round it. And you'll notice at the back here, the other heater control guide has unplugged itself from the rear of the heater here. That's quite normal, it just slips back in and clicks in, it's not a big deal. Now the next thing you've got to get to, which is quite tricky, is two plugs, wiring plugs. The big fat grey one here and a little black one at the side of it. They're on squeezy connectors, so you squeeze them and pull, but they're really awkward and difficult to get out. So you've got to sort of faff around, putting your hand down behind to get to them. The squeezy tab is underneath, so you've got to squeeze and pull on the big grey one. And then the little black one at the side of it, the squeezy tab is on the side, so you've got to pinch and pull. Okay, so once you've wrestled with the grey plug there, with the springy connector on the bottom of it, which I say they are a bit of a wrestle, you sometimes pull it forward and just sort of, you sort of squeeze it in to get that out. They are a bit of a pain. And you've got to follow, this is the guide cable that you removed from underneath your heater that unclipped. Once you've got that free, the whole lot, there you go, comes out. And on the back of that you can see the small side connector that we unclipped and the giant grey plug. On the end here, better picture of the clip that we pulled out of your heater. Yeah, there's the securing tab and there's the bit that goes around the control arm. Now you are finally left with access to your radio. I must say at this point, the Ford design on this was ridiculous, how many steps they made to make it impossible to change the radio. Now you can buy a complete new plastic dashboard section from Ford. They're about 90 odd pounds at I checked a few years ago, or go to the scrapyard and get one with the correct size hole. But a lot of the time it's easier to just buy the fascia trim and then cut these two bars out, which I'll show you shortly. Now before we go any further, because we're going to remove the stereo, I need to point out that any damage to your car or injury to yourself I am not liable for. You follow this guide at your own risk. I'm sorry I've had to put that in, but some people do try it on in this day and age. If you've got any questions, pop them in the comments below. I don't mind answering anything about any vehicle. So anyway, let's carry on. 4 screws, 1, 2, 3, 4. Undo those and then we'll pull the stereo forward. And so with all 4 screws removed, we can now grab hold of the stereo. You might want to put some cardboard or something down here, a bit of foam, because you're going to rest the stereo on it. You don't want to scratch any of your plastics or anything. But this particular one's having a whole new lot replaced, so it's not detriment on this particular car. Right, they are a bit awkward, so I'm going to need both hands for this bit. Okay, so stereo pulled forward. Aerial's on a little pull adapter, you just pull it off there, nice and simple. Stereo, push clip again, so pinch the clip, pull, out that comes. Stereo to one side. I mean, God only knows, you may want to put it back in if you sell the car, but you'll have to buy half a new dashboard to do it, unfortunately. Personally, I wouldn't recommend putting the original one back in after going to this much trouble. Okay, this is your heater control that we've left in. Now, don't worry if it's come away at the back here where the green bit is, because they're just pulling in and out. They're no big deal, they just slot in. And if it won't slot in, just turn it a bit and then it will slot back in. It's only a guide cable, they're very easy to slot in and out. Right, you're going to need now your fascia adapter that you've bought. Okay, so there's our plastic fascia, and as you can see it only goes one way, look, the holes line up for it to go the right way round. So basically pop that in, make sure your cables are coming through the correct hole from where the stereo is, and then you've got your wiring adapter there. Dead simple. You just basically get it the right way around, so the tab's at the top, and it only goes on one way. You cannot get this wrong. Shove it on and click and it'll stay put, sort of thing. Aerial adapter, it just pushes in the end of the old cable, look, there you go. So you're all ready to go with that. What we can do now, like I say, make sure you guide your wiring through. You don't want to trap anything below the fascia adapter. There we go. There is a gap at the bottom to shove everything through, look. There we go. Now you'll notice the screws you took out of the radio itself are longer than the screws you removed from the trim, so don't mix them up. Your radio screws are the really big ones, and your trim screws, I'll just show you the length in comparison, very short. So you want the long ones for your radio, yeah? Okay, so we can go ahead and put all 4 screws into the adapter. Alright, for the next step, we're going to use a hacksaw blade. You can use some snips, but they're not as tidy. You're going to cut down here on all 4, so you can get rid of these 2 central bars, and then get a little file and just tidy the edges up. Go ahead and do that now and show you when it's done. Okay, so we've cut the bars out, there they are. Now we're just going to get a little file and file up the edges to make it nice and neat. Okay, so back in the car, what I'm going to suggest doing is popping the little pocket out of the kit that you bought, so you've got more access to get your hand in, because you've got to basically connect this back in and shove the guide cable down that little slot there, which is quite tedious, to be honest with you, quite fiddly. So we're going to get your dash trim. Now I am going to have to cut the video on this to where I've done it, because I'm going to need both hands free to be able to get all this back together. It's basically a reverse procedure of how you removed it in the first place. There we go. It's just getting it past all the steering controls, as you can see. When you get it to this stage behind the controls and it's ready to slide in, watch your guide. You know, the heat control guide that you've got, this bendy cable. It needs to go through the gap. You see where the rusty metal piece is and the plastic for the heater? There's a little gap. It's got to go through that gap. So in essence, point the end of it in the gap and shove it through. Quite tricky to do because the plastic tab will only fit through it one way. You've got to sort of rotate it to get it round, and then the whole thing should, I do say should, there you go, slip in quite nicely. After that, you've got to plug your big grey connector back on, your little black connector back on, and then slide your, where are we, this control guide into the back of here. Okay, so we've plugged both plugs back in. The big grey plug, it's best to go in from the top and down to get to it. Same with the little black plug. Very fiddly to do, like I say, but a bit of perseverance and patience and you'll get it done. Now, the guide on the back of here, what I did was unplug the other end. Look, you see the green bit sticking out. Unplug that, gives you a bit of movement here. Basically, get the cable, push it up flush with this, and basically turn the dial until it clicks in. Yeah, so turn your dial round until the cable will just clunk and click in. Once you've done that, you can push your trim back up into roughly the right place and then re-plug back in the green bit. There we go, like so. So it's pushed all the way home now, look, back in there. Now you've got to be careful, obviously there is a little retaining plastic over the edge of it, so you just got to click it, you know, around that, don't snap it off. But that's back in, you know, it turns as it should, etc. And that's what you want to be checking. So all good. We've put one retaining screw in just to hold the thing in place, and the top clip as well. So everything is in. The next step is to go back down here to sort your heater out. This bit really is a stand on your head job, because you've got to click the mounting back in like so, and then put your guide arm back over the little metal hoop, which is very, as you can see, fiddly and annoying. Out of all the cars I do, and there is hundreds of them, these old Fiestas are certainly a pain in the neck. We'll need both hands for this, guys. There we go. Click back on as it should be. you can now go ahead and start replacing all your screws. You've got one here that you took out, a couple down at the bottom. You've probably dropped a couple down the back of the dashboard by now, so always have a handy supply of spare ones from the scrapyard, etc. So put all your screws back in and then click your plastic trim back in over here. Right, it's a quick update. We've put all our screws back in. We've reattached our lower trim, putting the screws back in where necessary and the clip at the top. We've reattached our awkward side panel down here, which, like I say, click, and then the plastic screw at the back there to put it back in. Like I say, more than likely a plastic screw is shot it by this stage, so it's sort of just a case of push it back in. They are very, very feeble. So anyway, that's that one back in. All the way back to the front here. Click your switch gear connector in. Make sure you've got your 2 screws in behind it, and make sure it's the right way up, because I've seen a lot of people put these in upside down. Click it fully home. Okay, so you've fully reassembled, you're ready to put your new radio in now, so you've finally got there. Okay, so go ahead and unbox your radio. Radios nowadays have changed a little bit, but your basics are you're going to have your radio, your fitment cage, and the little wiring harness adapter that comes with it. First things first, get your wiring adapter that came with the radio and click it into the plugs that your adapter has showing out the dashboard. They'll only go in one way, the pins are offset, you cannot get them the wrong way. One is for power, this particular one, and this one here is for speakers. So that's plugged in, locked in, ready to go. We are going to tape all this cabling up so nothing gets snagged, putting it in, so it's going to be all nice and tidy. We also took this little cable back here that we're not going to need, tape that up out of the way. So now you want your cage. Get your metal cage. Now, word of warning, especially on really cheap and nasty Chinese stereos, the cage edges are razor sharp. I would recommend wearing gloves. You would be surprised how often you get cut putting these things in. So there we go, cage in. You may have to squish it very slightly to get the corners in. They do tend to stick a bit. And pop it all the way home so it fits in there nice and snug. Get yourself a little flat blade screwdriver, like the one we used for the heater in fact, and just basically twist over some of the little tabs to hold it in place. You got to think, if you have an accident, you don't want your radio flying out and cracking you on, Same said with like 6x9s, if you're putting them in the rear of your car, putting speakers in the back, make sure they're secured. They'll come out with a hell of a force if you have an accident. Right, just twist those over. There we go, that's enough. That's got it. Cage is in there, firm. Security wise, yeah, obviously a thief will be able to get it out, but it just slows them down a little bit. Get your aerial as well, don't forget that one. And all we're going to do now is just tidy the cabling up quickly. There we go, so cabling just tidied up, tucked down the back here, right round out the way. That's why we've left the pocket out, so we can feed the cabling out of the way. Plug your power connector in, plug your aerial in. Some radios have a microphone, don't forget to plug your microphone in if you've run it along under the dashboard and up somewhere out the way. This particular radio doesn't have a microphone, so it's just aerial and power. And then literally just coax it in to sort of that level, yeah? Make sure your power connector's not in the way. At the back there, look, it's hiding out the way, you don't want it stopping the radio. When you get to this stage, you want to be putting the ignition on and just testing it works. So let's turn the key, make sure it powers up. Ignition key on, there we go. Unit powers up. Sometimes there's an initial setup to do on the unit. If so, make sure you choose the English language or whatever language is applicable to yourself, because getting the language change afterwards can be a pain in the neck. So we've memorised the radio station there, yeah? Onto one of the presets. We'll just press and hold the preset. Turn your ignition off again. Sort of count to 5, wait for it to power off there. And when you've done that, ignition back on, and just make sure that radio preset comes back on. We're just checking to make absolutely sure it's memorised it and is working correctly. And yes, it is. Back onto radio 4. So at that now we can turn off, safely knowing that the power's all good and it's all working. We can click our radio in to the security cage. There we go, making sure nothing's trapped. And get our little pocket that quite literally just shove fits in, if you like. Now obviously you're going to have little marks from where you fitted this radio and cut the bits out, but it's a damn sight cheaper than trying to replace the entire plastic trim. Guys, that is how you fit a radio on a 2003 spec triple-dash Ford Fiesta. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again next time. Bye for now.